Welcome to the Ultimate Travel Planner tutorial by Eden and Thread. Really excited to share this with you guys. The first thing I want to show when you go ahead and open up the link is that to add it to your account, you need to click this button right here. It's the two little boxes. It's going to say duplicate, and that's what's going to go ahead and add it into your Notion account. You can go ahead and click duplicate. So it's going to ask where you want to add it. Go ahead and click just add to private. So it's going to go ahead and duplicate the template. It may take a minute or so to just go ahead and give it some time. It's pretty large. There's a lot of stuff happening in it, so please be patient. Okay, so once it has loaded, you're going to have an editable version of the template. Notice you'll see that all of a sudden a lot of buttons that may not have been clickable are now able to be highlighted and edited. So that's exactly what you want. We're going to go ahead and minimize that sidebar so we can have a full view. The next thing is I am going to recommend, if you don't have it already, before you start, you're going to want to have small text full width. This is just going to make it so that you can see the template in a much easier way and it'll just look nicer overall. So first things here, we do have a countries visited. This is a manual counter. If you've been to 1 or 2 countries, you just hit the plus 1, 2. Now you can see, oh, I've been to 2 countries. That is something that you can go ahead and count up. The first thing here is going to be your destinations, and this is going to look a lot nicer once you start adding countries and cities into your travel planner. You can see it is organized by upcoming, visited, bucket list, and view all. So if you have a trip that's coming up, you'll see those cities here. If you have something you've completed, you'll see that these are here and it is organized by country. If you have a bucket list, say like here, Tokyo, you want to go here, that's where it will populate. And if you want to see everything, then you can go ahead and go to the last thing. It's just a really nice way to kind of keep an eye on the things that you've done. When you come down to travel journal, this will be just a way for you to see everything that you've entered so far. Again, it'll be view all by tag and by trip. So just a way for you to view things in different ways that might make it a little bit easier for you. There's also buttons here to add new journal entries as well as new destinations. So the first page is going to be my trips. So if we come here, again, you'll have a button to add a new trip, and here you'll have upcoming, complete, and view all. So you can see here we have a complete. This is my trip to Greece that I had, so it is in complete. And if you want to see everything, you would have view all, and it would be listed here with all of the different cards. Next, we're going to have the loyalty programs tracker. This is a way that you can keep track of all of the different programs you might be a member of, such as different airlines and cruise lines and hotels. You have here that you can view everything by airline, by cruise line, and by hotel. That could be a way for you to quickly store and just save everything. If you were to add a new one, it's going to start a new entry here. You would do the title of the program that you're a member of, the loyalty number, the type, where you can select airline, cruise line, or hotel, the status. I have the 3 here from the examples, but every program has a different status type, so go ahead and manually add it. And if you want it to match, you can change it to gray, which you can do by clicking the 3 buttons here on the side and choosing the color. You can also rename it if you make any kind of like a typing mistake, so don't worry about that. You can add the URL here if you want of the program, and then if you just have any notes you want to make, such as if the program's points don't expire, or you're a month away from needing to re-meet a point to maintain a certain membership level, whatever you want. Next, we have the ultimate packing list. This is everything I could think of that you might need for a trip. This is also one where I would say you would have the most flexibility if you would like to edit. So here we have things separated by category. We have accessories, carry-on, cruise essentials, everyday items, miscellaneous, outdoor, summer, toiletries, winter, work. And if you click here, you'll see show more groups and evening wear. This last one is just no category, so don't worry about that unless you wind up putting something in there. So cruise essentials, you may see it says load more. You can look for that. That's usually when tables just get really long. You can click on everything. Same thing here with carry-on. It's just really long, so you click to see the rest of the options. What's really, really nice about this packing list is that it is reusable. So if you were to click all of these items, having to undo everything would be a real pain. You just come up here, click reset, and you can see it edited it and it unchecked everything. So you can reuse this packing list over and over again. And if you want to add things, you can always click on new here, or you can click new at the top. It'll go ahead and just open up a new one. Put in whatever it is, the category that you think it falls under. You can also add a new category if you'd like. Delete things that you would never pack. So that is the ultimate packing list. Next is the travel fund tracker. For this, we have things that are called buckets. Essentially, this is most people do not have multiple travel savings accounts. So what's really really nice here is if you make a deposit into your travel savings account, that way you can designate it to certain things. I created basic categories here, just I'm calling them buckets. Say you want to add $500 or so to a Europe trip or a general trip, something along those lines. So what you can do is you can click new either in the table or down here, and you can add a new expense. Let's say we want to have, we just made like a deposit, and then there's also an option here for an icon. Typically I would go with what it suggests here, but if it's going to be a deposit, oh, actually it would be an up arrow. So we'll go with an up arrow and make it green. The bucket, say it's for your Euro trip, $400 deposit. You can see here for Europe, it updated to $400. And say you went ahead and bought plane tickets to, let's say we're going to Dublin, and those cost, let's say $350. So for this, we're going to want to put a negative number. We have an auto-calculated sum of our entire account down here for 500, and then it brought the bucket for Europe down to $50. And if you want to make this a different color as well, you can just look up the down icon and make it red so that you see it's an expense. Otherwise, you could just leave everything as gray if you'd like. It's just a really nice way to quickly see what is what. If you don't like these titles, that's absolutely not a problem. These are very easy to edit. All you have to do is click the edit button, and then you can type and change. Say you want this to be something different. You're specifically going to, Ireland 2024. That way you can redo that, and it's a little bit more specific to you. And now this way you have an idea of what money is going into which trip or fund, just to make it a little bit easier, as that's a little hard to distinguish on just a regular bank account. Next we have countries and cities. This is where you would add in the different places that you want to go. So here we have new country. We could go ahead and click that. So we'll hit new country, and this template will pop up. We can go ahead and delete this. Let's go ahead and add Ireland. The region here will be Europe, and then here you would be able to add any cities. So we have these are relations, so these are going to talk to one another. If you had Dublin or Cork or wherever you might be going, that would pop up here. However, we don't have it right now, so we can go ahead and leave that blank. We'll do that in just a moment. So languages, what language does Ireland speak? This is connected to another page that I will show you in just a moment. We do know that Ireland does speak English. They also speak Irish Gaelic, but it's not really something you're gonna have to worry about. So we can just go ahead and put English, and now we see that that is populated. Here you'll also see my trips. So if you were to create a trip for Ireland, this would populate here, but you can also do that when creating your trip. So don't fret if you can't fill out everything right away. I would suggest adding an icon. Typically you can just go with the country's flag, Ireland, and if you want to add a cover, we'll come to change cover. I recommend coming to Unsplash, type in Ireland, and then here's a beautiful picture of the Cliffs of Moher. So we'll just go ahead and go with that. And if you want to change the way the image looks, you can click reposition and hit save position. Then we'll come to the side, and now the image is here. You can see Ireland, and it is now ready for use. So the next thing would be, if you want to come down to cities, we could add a new city. So click add new city. We're going to remove this, and we'll just put in Dublin. We're going to add a cover, do change, come to Unsplash, type in Dublin. Let's just go ahead with this cute little, actually I think that's Temple Bar. So we'll go with an image of Temple Bar, which is a pretty famous touristy pub in Dublin. So we'll go ahead and click country. So now we can connect it to Ireland, which we just created. Status, this will be if you've been there before, if you're visiting, or it's upcoming. I've actually been to Dublin before, so I could click visited, but if it's for an upcoming trip, you can click upcoming. Languages, they speak English as well as Irish Gaelic in Dublin, so you can scroll through and find English, or you could also type it in here to find it a little quicker and just click the language. This will be for another section, so we're not going to worry about that right now. However, if you did want to add anything additional here, we do have a way to embed the Google map, which this is really simple, as well as a weather widget that we would get from Indify, which is a Notion widgets website that you do need to sign up for, but I will show that in just a moment. Next, you would have my trips. This is where any trips connected to this city they would show, as well as any travel research that you do for the city and any saved locations. So to go ahead and add some new travel research, you just go ahead and come down here and click new. You can see that it already populated that it's for Dublin because that's the city that we're working in. And let's say we found an article. We could actually go ahead and add the article that I wrote about things to do in Ireland. So here we have the 3-day coast-to-coast guide to Ireland that I wrote. So if you wanted to use this, we could go ahead and copy this information, copy it in there. And then the source would be like an article or blog tag. I would say trip guide. And then if you wanted to put the URL, we just copy the URL on top and then paste it in. And then if you wanted to add a cover, it usually makes it look a little prettier. We can go ahead and just type in Ireland again, and let's go with this castle. That looks pretty. And then to get back to Dublin, we can just click on Dublin, and that brings us back. And now if we scroll to the bottom, we can see our 3-day coast-to-coast guide to Ireland is now here. For saved locations, you could add things in. If we hit new, you'll get new location. Now your options are such as attraction, restaurant, cafe, museum, library, hostel, hotel. If you have something else, you can always add it. You just type it up here, and then you would change again the color on the side for it to match, and then rename anything if that works better for you. The city will autofill to the one that you're working on. You can add in the address, URL. So coming back to this, to embed a Google map, what we need to do first is we want to go to Google Maps. From here, we want to type in the location that we're looking for. So in this case, it's going to be Dublin, Ireland. And now that it's popped up, we can see that we have the map here. However, to embed it, we want to come over to share and then click copy link. We want to come back and click on the embed a Google map. This will pop up and you want to paste in the link and click embed map. It may take just a second to load, but now you can see that you have the map here. Don't worry, you can actually resize this, so go ahead and pull it up if you think it's too big. I prefer something along this size. I just think it looks a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, and that is how you embed a Google map. Now, if you do want a weather widget, as I said, you need to come here to Indefine Notion widgets, so we'll go ahead and click on this. For this, you do need to sign up. It is completely free, so don't worry about that. Otherwise, go ahead and log into your account. Once you're logged in, you'll see that there are a bunch of different kinds of widgets that you can use. What we want is going to be weather. So we're going to go ahead and click create widget. You can go ahead and give it a title. For this, I'm just going to call it Dublin, Ireland, so that we know which one it is. And you go ahead and let it create the widget. So this is what the base is going to look like. Now we want to come over to weather location, and we want to put in the name of the place that we want. So we're going to do Dublin, Ireland. Here you can choose what kind of preferred units you want. They have imperial and metric, so choose the system that you are more comfortable with. You can select the number of days and whatnot that you'd want to see, or you can do current weather only. So go ahead and play around with it, see whatever you like, and then once you're done with it, you want to come down. You can see that there are a few more options here. Some of these are locked if you have a paid plan, but don't feel obligated to subscribe. If you also want, you can change colors, dark and light settings. It does have quite a bit of customizability for the free option. Once you're done with this, you want to come down here and click the copy. It'll say copy to clipboard. And then we want to come back here again. So we're going to click on the embed. It'll say embed link. We want to paste in our link and click embed. Give it just a moment. And now we can see here that we have our current weather for Dublin, Ireland. You can also play around with this if you so choose, but do whatever looks good for you. And now we have a map as well as the current weather of the city that we're looking at. So now that we're done with that, we can see that Dublin has been here added as a brand new city. And if we want, we could always go by country, and you can see under Ireland, we have Dublin. So that's how you add countries and cities. Next, we have food and restaurants. So here I have an example of the grilled octopus that I had in Greece. At first, it's organized by cuisine, by rating, and then by view all. So if we click into the grilled octopus, you might notice that there is no cover at the top. So this one is set for you to upload an image. You would upload the image of your food and then any notes. But you could choose the cuisine. For now, I just have Mediterranean, but you could always add others like Japanese, Vietnamese, German, Italian, something along those lines. So then here you would have the saved location. It's really okay if you don't have this already entered. To say a lot of these different pieces talk to each other. So sometimes it's adding stuff in and then connecting other pieces later. Then you can go ahead and add the rating. So I said this was 5 out of 5 stars, and then it is connected to my Greece 2020 2024 trip. You can see when you come to rating, unfortunately, it's going to say 5 to 6, but focus on this first number, so I'd have one item in the 5. Then you can view all, and you'll see it's grilled octopus. I rated it 5 out of 5, and it is Mediterranean cuisine. Down here, we have saved restaurants. So here, this is where I added the restaurant that I had the octopus. If we come in, we have this image that I got from Unsplash on top, the name of the restaurant, that it is a restaurant, the city that it was in, the address, the URL of the restaurant, and we can see here that the food that was attached to this is the grilled octopus. If you wanted to add a new restaurant, you could click the button right up here, add new restaurant. You'll see that it'll autofill as restaurant, and then you can fill in those same fields that we just have at the top. As you do start to add a lot more items, this might become pretty full. We do have save page navigation here. You can click save foods, it'll bring you to that header, and then save restaurants, and it'll bring you to that header to more easily get to where you need to go. Next will be travel research. So here we can see all of the different research that we have for everything that we put in. So here we can see the articles that we've saved about Greece, as well as the 3-day coast to coast Ireland guide that we just entered. If you want, you can come to by city. You can see that it is then separated by city and that it is in alphabetical order. If you want to add it, you can always add your new travel research item also directly from this page. You can click new item. You would add your travel entry, add your cover, and then pick the city that it is connected to. Again, put the source. It could be a travel magazine, maybe YouTube or an article or blog, or if you get it from somewhere else, add a new option. Add your tags. I have activities, food and drink, and trip guide, but always add something new if it works better. And then put the URL of where you had it. So say if you got it either from Eat It and Thread or a travel magazine or somewhere else or a YouTube video, that's where you would connect that. Next, we have locations and tours. This is where the saved locations that you've added into all of your cities is a general overview for you to be able to see. So here we have the ones that were entered for the Greece example. We have the Acropolis. You'll be able to see the name of it, the address, as well as what kind of place that it is. And it is organized here first by city, by type, and then you can see an overview of everything. If you go by type, you'll then see what it is, the address, as well as the city that it is in. And then you can see it's organized by attraction and restaurant, and then there'll be more as you add them. And then just a general view, which will then include all of the information. If you come down to save tours, we have an example here of a tour from Athens. It is a day trip to Delphi and Arakova. This is part of the Greece trip. If we click in, we can see it is a tour. You have options of tour or excursion because tours on cruises are usually called excursions. So you can be able to distinguish the two of them if you so choose. The day of the tour, what trip that it is connected to, the city that it is happening in, the price per person, or you could do the overall, whatever you desire, the company that it is associated with, where you have to meet for the tour, and a URL. You can also go ahead and put your cover up here, which I do recommend just because it makes the cards look a lot prettier. Again, as these do start to fill up, we have page navigation on the side for saved locations and tours. You can more easily get to where you need to go. And we do have the buttons to add new tour and add new location to make it just a little bit easier for you. Next, we have travel documents. We have our handy button here at the top to add a new document, or you could always hit new down here as well or on the side, but this is just to make it nice and easy. But as examples, we have a section of all trips and by trip. So for all trips, you would see things such as your passport scan or medication lists, the file you would upload, the category, who it's connected to, and what kind of trip type it is. If it is connected to a trip, you could also see that here on the side. And if you go by trip, you can see here we have for Greece, we've got plane ticket, the file, the category is transportation, and that it is a trip specific. To look in, we go ahead and open it up. You can see the file here. We just have an example passport, and it's just a really easy way to keep track. You can also upload things such as PDFs. Next, we have our travel journal. This is just a nice little place if you want to keep any kinds of records about how you feel about your trip. We have it as view all, by tag, and by trip. So here we have an example of the first day in Greece. We can go ahead and click this open. We have first day in Greece, the date that this was written, just a fun little caption to kind of describe what's going on, the trip that it's connected to, and some tags. We have travel thoughts, cafe, accommodations, new food or activities. Feel free to add whatever you like to make it more customizable to you. Then we have just an image for inspiration. You can upload your own image as well. Just a note that if you are uploading your own images, if you have a free Notion account, the limit is 5 megabytes per file. We do have just a a little basic outline here of what you could write for your journal entry. It is part of the template. So if you wanted to hit add journal entry, you would see new journal entry. This is where you'd add your picture, and then this. If you don't like this, however, though, you can always just delete it and write whatever it is you want. That's really just for inspiration to get your brain thinking about what you did that day. And you can see by tag, travel thoughts, the caption, and the title. And then by trip, this would be everything that you had in the trip that you're looking for. Next, we have our travel planner. This will be the overview for everything you have going on. So if you have more than one trip that you're planning at a time, you could see everything here. We do have an example from the flight. So if you had, say, your flight to Athens, this was on April 16th. It's connected to my Greece trip. It is a flight. We also have sightseeing, food and drink, hotel, activity would be the city that it's happening in. So technically I would have left out of New York City and landed in Athens, but I went ahead and just left it blank for now. If you had anything connected to this activity, say this was actually going to a certain restaurant that you saved, that's where you could connect this. So we have that restaurant, Ptolemy, as well as the Acropolis. And you can also always add new items to this from these pages, and then you can always go back into those areas and edit things later. So you have the people who are part of this. Here you would be able to click and add whoever is a part of it, any URLs that may be necessary, and notes. So say you want to put the airline, the flight number, the airport that you need to leave from, and maybe your seat, just to have that extra information. And if you were to add the new calendar event, you could see that we wanted to type in, people would pop up, and I will show this to you in just a moment how you get that information. But you can also always add the new person from here and then edit their information later. So here's where you have your travel buddies. I went ahead and put in a fake profile about myself. Of course, this is actually our real support email address. If you do have any questions, feel free to always email support@edenthread.com or send a message through our contact form if you have any questions about using this template or anything else about the site or our business. To add a new travel buddy, go ahead and click the add travel buddy at the top. You would enter in their name here. So say I was bringing a friend with me, say I'm bringing Joe. We'll just put in, like, you would add their birthday, you would put in their email, their phone number, the relationship to you. We'll go ahead and say friend, although he's actually my boyfriend, so maybe we would do family. Or you could enter whatever you want. You have like another category, spouse, significant other, something along those lines. Any documents that you've uploaded that are connected to them will show up here. You would have their emergency contact. So say it could be his brother or one of his parents, the emergency contact phone number so that you know who to contact in case anything happens. And then any trips they're a part of will populate here. And then you can see Joe is now a part of my travel buddies. And then I can always link him to anything where I see that section that involves linking a person. The next is going to be the languages tab. And this is where you can see lots of different languages. I put a couple in here already, and some are already connected to countries that have been added. Of course, you can absolutely add more languages as you need, and you would go ahead and click add new language. You would add the language here, the city that it's connected to. Usually I would go ahead and just leave that blank, as well as the countries, and then you can connect those things as you're building your trips. Let's say a lot of these do talk to each other, so don't worry if you don't have something created already. You can add any notes that you need about the language, and if you want to save some vocabulary, you can always add some vocabulary down here. Say, let's go ahead and enter Spanish as an example. As I said, we don't have the city or the countries yet that it's involved with, so it's not a big deal. If you want to add vocabs you can remember, you could do hola, and it means hello. And this could be, say, a beginner phrase or a greeting. So we'll just go with greeting. And now we have that record of words that we might need for our trip. And when you click out, you can scroll down, it will be alphabetical, and we can see that it added Spanish here to our list. Next, I want to show you how to actually create a trip. So we're going to click add new trip. Say we're going to do Ireland 2024. And this, we have different types of trips. So we have business, leisure, cruise, road trip, solo, backpacking, just as some basic examples. I'm going to go ahead and put leisure. Now we can add the duration. For the duration, it could be whatever you need. Let's say this trip is going to be in August. Say we're leaving on the 4th. And to add an end date, you would click down here, click end date, and say we're going for a week. We'll just say until the 10th, and then just click out. Now we can see we have the duration of our trip. The countries that we're going to. This is where you can click where it is you're going to be going. Obviously, we're going to Ireland. And if you're going to more than one country, you can always click multiple. Say if it was like a multi-euro trip, you're going to Ireland and Greece and England, then you could put all of those in there. You can also click the city, about which cities you're going to be visiting. visiting, you can click Dublin. And if you want to add another one, say we're also going to be going to Cork, we'll go ahead and add Cork. And it's not going to look as pretty right now, but we can go ahead and edit that later. If you do add it through here, it might not necessarily come up with the icon. You may need to add the pin, so just an FYI on that. So status, we're going to have this as upcoming, and the people that are going, it'll be Emma and Joe. We click both. Coming down here, we do have a return to home button, as well as the ultimate packing list because it is reusable, so that's why we just go ahead and put that there. Here you'll have your travel planning. We have a month view as well as a week and table view. You have a to-do list. You might need to get a vaccine before you go if you're going to a certain area that may have higher elevated risks of certain kinds of diseases. You can go ahead and put whatever it is you need here, or things like renew your passport, buy plane tickets, anything along those lines. Down here we have an expense tracker. So this is really nice just to keep track of what you might spend on your vacation, but also if you're splitting expenses with anyone. To edit this, we're going to hit and click add new expense. You're going to have new expense entry. So we could go ahead and do plane tickets to Dublin. We're gonna hit category and we're gonna go ahead and click transportation. You can also see there's options of food and drink, shopping, activities, accommodation, or even insurance. Got something else, go ahead and feel free to add it. So let's go say the plane tickets were $1,000 and I bought them on, let's say I bought them today. The person who purchased them was me. And is this a split expense? And I'm gonna go ahead and say yes, because I bought the plane tickets for both people. So now we're gonna head and go back. Also, I recommend adding a cover photo, just something that kind of looks, fun and inspiring for your trip. So now you can come down here and you can see we have our expense, plane tickets to Dublin, transportation, $1,000, who purchased it, and if it was split. You'll also see the sum down here of all of the money that's been spent for the trip, and then we can organize it by category. You can see transportation. There'll be hidden groups if you haven't used all of your categories, so don't worry about that. And then you can also view it by split. So we can see here it says yes, and then the person who spent it, and then you can see which expenses were split and you need to then owe to certain people. Down here you'll have your travel documents. Same thing, you can add a new document directly from your trip. You'll see trip specific. So this is currently empty because we don't have any trip specific items for this trip. And then you can go to view all. And then this is where you can see all of the kinds of documents that you would need for every kind of trip, like your passport and your medication list. You've come down to travel journal. This is where you can also add travel journal entries directly for this trip. If you do click on add new journal entry, you'll see that it will autofill with the trip that you are editing it for. If you come down as well, you'll have saved tours and the saved food. Any tours that you may have, you can go ahead and click add new tour. Then you will be able to see which ones you've added, as well as view all, and that will just see everything that you've added for the entire trip, not just specific cities. Say you have a tour you want to do to go to the Guinness Storehouse in Dublin, and then you want to go to something in Cork, like a trip of the city, then you could see it organized that way. Down here for food, what's really nice is we have it organized by cuisine, by rating, and by view all, which is the same as on the main page, but this is specifically for this trip. And if you want to add new food, you would go ahead and add the new food entry, add the name of the food, as well as the cuisine, saved location, specifically what restaurant it might have been at, so you would add that here. Then you'd come down and add your 5 stars or 1 star, 2 star, however you felt about it. It'll automatically fill which trip it was a part of, and then you can add an image of your food. Again, 5 megabyte limit for anyone with a free account, such as myself, and then you'd add any kinds of notes that you may have about the food. It was the best thing you've ever eaten in your entire life, or make sure to recommend this to friends and family on any future trips that they may have. So that's how you add a new trip, and then you can see all of the ones that you've got. Then we can go ahead and click return home. So we come back to our dashboard, and now we can see we have an upcoming trip to Dublin. It's in Ireland, and they speak English in Ireland. We come to view all. You can see how this is organized, and notice how, because we added work directly from the trip tab, it's not really very pretty. So we'll just need to make sure we go into this and edit, add our icon, our cover photo, and anything else that it might require, such as the language, so English, country, Ireland. So just make sure we fill this out, and again, this is going to be upcoming. Go ahead and add a cover photo, come out, and now we have an image that represents where we're going to be going, and it just looks a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. So that is the ultimate travel planner from Eden and Thread. I really do hope that you loved it. If you have any questions, please do feel free to leave a comment below on this video. You can email us at support@edenthread.com. Please do leave us a review, as we absolutely appreciate feedback on all of our products, and we shall see you in the next one.